The sharp ring of metal against metal echoed through the garage that morning, a steady rhythm of tools, engines, and breathing, punctuated by the low hum of an air compressor and the scent of oil that never quite left the air. It was an ordinary morning, but hidden beneath that familiar noise was something extraordinary, something about to change more than one life forever. Clark was already there before sunrise, 22 years old, but his eyes carried the weight of someone twice that age. He bent over the hood of an old sedan, his fingers moving with practiced care. The clock on the wall said 6:17 a.m., but he hadn't slept. He wasn't supposed to be there that early, but promises mattered to him. He'd made one long ago, to never let anyone feel helpless the way he once did, especially not someone who reminded him of his late mother. When the rumble of an old car coughed its way into the lot, Clark glanced up. The door creaked open, and a frail, elderly woman stepped out, her hands trembling as she clutched her handbag. Her name was Mrs. Green, the kind of person life seemed to test a little too much, but who still greeted the world with a soft smile. Her voice wavered as she spoke. "Son, it just stopped running. I was on my way to the pharmacy. I don't know what's wrong." Clark nodded, wiping his hands on a rag. "Don't worry, ma'am. Let's see what we can do." To anyone else, it might have looked like just another job, but to Clark, it wasn't. It was a moment, a chance to help, a chance to be the kind of person he wished the world had been for his family. He popped the hood, listening as he worked. The faint hiss of air where there shouldn't be one, a loose belt, a worn spark plug. It was nothing major, a few small fixes. He replaced the part, patched the leak, and with the last bit of fuel he had in his own canister, filled her tank. He turned the key, and the car came alive again, softly at first, then steady, smooth. The woman's eyes filled instantly. She tried to hand him a few wrinkled bills, but Clark just smiled. "Keep it, ma'am. Gas money's on me this time. Just take care of yourself." She stood there, speechless, her lips trembling. "God bless you, child," she whispered. What neither of them realized was that someone else had been watching the whole time. From the glass window of his office, the owner, Mr. Harlan, had seen every move. A man of precision, always with a pen tucked behind his ear and a scowl that rarely left his face. Years of running the garage had hardened him. To Harlan, every moment had to count, every job had to profit. That was the rule. No exceptions. And when he found out Clark had done the repair for free, something in him snapped. By late afternoon, the sun hung low, painting the floor in streaks of amber. The air was thick with heat and tension. The younger mechanics went quiet when the sound of Harlan's boots echoed through the room. He didn't waste a second. "Clark!" The young man turned. "You think this is some kind of charity?" Harlan's voice was sharp, echoing off the metal walls. "You think good intentions keep the lights on?" Clark froze, the words slicing deep. He tried to explain, "Sir, but Harlan cut him off. "You don't get to decide who pays and who doesn't. You're here to work, not to play hero." Every word stung. The apprentices stood motionless, afraid to breathe. Clark's hands shook slightly, but his voice stayed calm. "I just wanted to help," he said quietly. Harlan's face twisted with anger. "Pack your things. You're done here." And just like that, silence fell. The kind of silence that presses against your chest. Clark didn't argue. He took off his gloves, placed them gently on the workbench, and walked toward the exit. His boots scraped against the floor, and at that very moment, fate added its cruel twist. Mrs. Green had returned, holding a small box wrapped in a napkin, cookies she'd baked to say thank you. But when she saw what was happening, her heart sank. She froze in the doorway, watching the young man who had helped her now losing everything because of it. "Wait, please," she tried to say, but Harlan had already turned away. Clark didn't look back. He simply stepped out into the fading light, shoulders heavy, eyes low. If this story touches your heart, please share it with someone. Because sometimes, a simple act of kindness comes with a cost, but it's never wasted. The days that followed were cruel. Clark searched everywhere for work. One garage said they'd call back. They never did. Another told him they weren't hiring. Without a reference, doors stayed shut. The small savings he had started vanishing. His younger sister, Aisha, noticed his silence at dinner. The way he'd push his food around but barely eat. "You okay?" she'd ask. He'd smile faintly. "Just tired," he'd say. But the truth was heavier. His dream of owning a small repair shop one day. It was slipping away, piece by piece. Meanwhile, back at Harlan's garage, something felt off. The mornings were quieter. The chatter was gone. Even the sound of tools hitting metal felt emptier. Customers noticed too. Clark had been honest, gentle, patient, and people trusted him. Without him, that trust started fading. Complaints came in. Familiar faces didn't return. 3 days passed before the front door creaked open again. It was Mrs. Green. She stood there with her cane, dressed neatly in a lavender cardigan, her eyes steady but wet with tears. She asked to see Mr. Harlan. When he stepped out of his office, she faced him directly. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. "I'm the woman that young man helped. The one you fired him for." Harlan frowned, uncertain. "Ma'am, But she raised her hand slightly, stopping him. "Please, let me finish." She told him what he didn't know. That she hadn't just been heading to a pharmacy that morning. She was on her way to the hospital, to see her grandson, who was fading fast. And if Clark hadn't stopped to help, she would have never made it in time. Her voice broke. "Because of him, I got to hold my grandson's hand one last time before he passed." Tears slid down her wrinkled cheeks. "He didn't just fix my car," she whispered. "He gave me something I can never repay. A goodbye." For a long moment, Harlan couldn't speak. The words hit him harder than he expected. His throat tightened, his hands trembled slightly. He turned away, staring out through the window where Clark used to work. The memory of his own son flashed before him. His boy, gone in a road accident years ago. He'd built this business to escape the pain, to bury himself in routine. Discipline became his armor. But Clark's act of kindness, it cracked something open. That night, Harlan couldn't sleep. He sat in his dark office, the ticking clock sounding louder than usual. Mrs. Green's words echoed in his head. "He gave me a goodbye." The next morning, as dawn painted the horizon gold, Harlan made a decision. He drove across town to a small, rundown neighborhood where the houses leaned tiredly against each other. Paint chipped, windows cracked, but from one small home came the faint sound of life. A kettle whistling, the clatter of dishes, a sister's laughter trying to keep hope alive. Harlan stepped out, walked to the faded blue door, and knocked. When it opened, Clark stood there, surprised. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Harlan said softly, "I was wrong." Clark blinked, unsure if he'd heard right. "I judged you for doing something I'd forgotten how to do," Harlan continued. "For caring. You didn't just fix a car. You reminded me what this place is supposed to mean." He paused, his voice cracking slightly. "If you'll come back, I'd like you not just as a mechanic, but as my assistant manager." Clark stared at him, speechless. Emotion welled in his chest, words failing him. All he could do was nod. When he returned to the garage later that day, the entire team stopped working. The apprentices broke into smiles, clapping and cheering. Even the cold echo of tools seemed warmer. Mrs. Green stood near the entrance, her eyes shining with pride. And for the first time in a long while, Harlan smiled too. Not the forced kind, but a real one. Quiet, human, full of something like peace. As Clark bent over another car, tightening a bolt, the morning light fell gently on his hands. This time, it wasn't just about fixing engines. It was about rebuilding faith. Because sometimes, the smallest kindness can heal the deepest wounds. And when you give goodness to the world, it finds its way back. Often when you least expect it. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because somewhere out there, someone needs a reminder that compassion still matters. And that a single act of kindness can change everything.